Cristiano Ronaldo, yes! Yes! David Beckham has done it, big time!
Welcome, Seva.
Cheers, Heto. Thanks, mate.
Simon Hill, we've had some really good feedback again from Simon Hill. He's we really enjoyed having him on.
Yeah, he was brilliant, wasn't he? He was very transparent, and I think it's going to be an awesome thing.
And we hope you guys enjoyed it. This week's podcast is brought to you by a new sponsor. You can see behind us, Ignify Legal. Ian and the team have jumped on board. So if you're buying or selling your property and needing expert legal advice, contact Ian from Ignify Legal on 8823 3309. And Ian, we can't thank you enough for jumping on board. And Seva, it's good to have a lawyer on board.
Yeah, I think we're going to need one.
We may need one at any time. Also, while we're at it, this podcast will come out after the Marconi rolled the red carpet out for us. We were there for the Sydney United game.
Yeah, special thanks to the club president Vince Fodi and the chairman of football Rob Cagnato. They showed us all around there yesterday, and Marconi got up 2-0. Over, I think it was a local derby, Sydney United.
Sydney United.
And yeah, they rolled out the red carpet for us, put on a good feed, and hopefully do some good things with them in the future.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Hey?
Always good to go, but roll the years back.
How good. And on today's podcast, Seva, a good friend of yours, an ex-teammate at Gold Coast United, and I do believe lived with you and Pam for a while.
Yeah, he did actually. Very unplanned, but it was very pleasurable. It was he's a good mate of mine.
Well, if he's pleasurable, let's get him on. Zac Anderson, welcome to the Heto and Seva Uncharted podcast.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thanks for having me. Seva, Matty, it's fantastic to be here with you both.
How you going, buddy?
Mate, I'm good. I'm very good. I miss Pam's spag bowl, but no, mate, it's great to see you both, and congratulations on the show.
Thank you, mate. And I believe you're about to head into a 3-day COVID lockdown. Is that right?
Yeah, got into work this morning, and the news came across. So, like we've just had a bit of a laugh about, we can have a chat for 45 or 3 days, whatever Jeff's got time for. But guys, we'll crack on in and see how long we go for.
Perfect, mate. Look, and we know you recently retired and settling back into life as a living in Brisbane again. I take it, is that right?
Yeah, Matty. I left home when I was 15, so it's been 15 years since I've been back. So it's been I've pretty much gone full circle. 5 years abroad and coming home in December, making the call after the year that was in 2020. So it's been really nice to come home closer to family and settle down and just spend a bit of time closer to friends. So it's been quality.
Yeah, perfect, mate. And you spent a lot of time with Zac living on the Gold Coast?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with him, To be honest, I got on with absolutely everyone in the team, but
yeah, he said this to Thwaitie last week, Seva. Be careful. Listen to Thwaitie. He's best mates with Thwaitie.
Mate, he's best mates with everyone who comes on here, right? Even if he doesn't know them, he's known them his whole life.
Thwaitie never lived with me.
Yeah.
He never had the.
I can honestly say, this is my fault. This was my doing. Seva was definitely an older brother to me. I was thinking about it before Seva, before jumping on. It was probably 10 years ago now, approximately, that we kind of met, and you were definitely a mentor and a bigger brother to me. And you and Pam took me into your home and looked after me while I was kind of going through my apprenticeship as a footballer. So. I'll be forever grateful for.
So was that your debut year living in the A League?
Yeah, Seva came up to Gold Coast. Got signed from the Sydney NPL.
Yes,
Seva.
Yep.
And Seva and I just kind of hit it off straight away. I think that Seva had a lot of experience coming from overseas and coming in from the NPL, and I think Seva had a bit to prove himself. Not getting that A-League opportunity, as early as he probably deserved it. And I don't know, Seva and I, we just got along. Our football philosophies, the way we train, the way we outside of football, I think the way we prepared for games. I think Seva and I, we enjoyed the process of it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think you're bang on there, Zachy. You're bang on there. I think it was an easy. When it wasn't forced. was just easy to get along. Like, we both love playing golf, and to be honest, I always loved going out doing promotions, and being a young fella, as Zac was, they try and
drag along.
Yeah. So it was pretty much just you got on from day one, and then just it went from there.
Lifelong friends.
So Zac, can you take us back to obviously when you're in Brisbane and what drew you to football, and give us a bit of the Zac Anderson story before we take it up as a professional, if you can?
Yeah, no, cool. No, well, my story pretty much started out as a typical Australian family. I like Thwaitie that you had on. I was born up in North Queensland. Mum and dad both school teachers, and got transferred down to Clownge on the Sunshine Coast. So very luckily, I got brought up in a beautiful part of the world, and having one parent, which is my father, who was a rugby league man, tough MG type. And then I had a mother who was an overprotective, bubble wrapping, son. I was like, in this kind of crossroads between going, tennis, golf, cricket. I didn't know where I was going, and I landed on soccer. So my earliest memories is just like most footballers, I guess, is just getting thrown into a team and enjoying it. And I think that as you progress through your 7, 8, 9 age groups, you kind of get a feel for where you sit, just like you do in any business or any organisation. You kind of get a feel for where you sit in that environment. And I just had a bit of a love for the game, and it grew over time. And once you hit that 12, 13, you kind of recognise that you have some ability, and then you start getting confidence from people around you that this might be something that you can pursue. And then it's up to you. It comes down to work ethic and your own, vision and determination to see how far you can push yourself. And then you get to a point at 15, 16 where girls start to come into the picture and partying starts coming into the picture. And then that's when the discipline side of things comes into it. And you recognize at that point where your priorities lie. And I guess for me, I was always someone that, I guess I was lucky that I was in an environment at home that my parents, gave me the strong foundations of what hard work meant. Yep. And they instilled in me that if you wanted to succeed in anything, that you need to, be obsessed by it. And from about 16, 17, 18, I was obsessed to become a pro. And I think that, when I came to meeting Seva, I was in the youth team. I was in a very successful youth team. I think that, Seva came down and dropped into our youth team to get a bit of minutes in his legs when he wasn't involved in the first team. And I think that having that experience of someone like Seva, just to lean on someone like that, to lean on people like Thwaitie to train day to day on the Gold Coast, as soon as I got that feeling of being a pro, there was nothing that was going to stop me. So I think that Seva will be definitely one to tell you that I wasn't gifted with Seva's left foot or Michael Thwaites, speed and agility and technical ability. I was just someone that was 6'4", had physical attributes that I could lean upon and do a job for a team. But it really came down to my drive and my hunger to want to be the best I could be.
I was going to ask you about that. So you talked about that age from sort of 12 to 16. Was there a point where you either shot up and like you're a pretty tall lad, like did you grow? Yeah. And then when did you sort of go, yep, I'm half decent at this caper and it is time to, I know you said hard work. Was there a time you thought, yep, I'm all right at this?
Yeah, I think that I speak to a lot of parents about this as well. A lot of parents that come to me and say, when does it become serious and when is it still fun? And I think that the big thing for kids and youth football is that it's got to remain fun. You've got to enjoy it. Fun. You've got to have that love for the game. And I think that I think personally parents put too much pressure on their kids now. And I think the best thing for me at a young age is I still loved it until I was 15, 16. When I say loved it, I wasn't thinking about becoming pro or I was doing all the right things, but I was just in love with the game, in love with the process. I was watching Pelé tapes. I was obsessed with Queensland Lions at the time when the A-League first started. So I was just, I guess, immerse myself into day-to-day training and just doing as much as I could, in school sport. All I cared about was the next pair of David Beckham boots that was coming out.
And
I think that,
And growing up in Brisbane, was it a group of mates that you were playing with up until then, and then you had to sort of like we talk about it a bit. You play in your mates, and then all of a sudden you're half decent, and you get dragged away from that sort of core group.
The rep teams start tracking you, don't they? And you get wind of it, and then you go, well, like Zach was saying before, you start to realise a bit of a pattern here. I'm getting recognised. I'm getting called in for certain, for example, maybe even. Did you go to the QAS at all?
Yeah, I went to QS when I was 13, and that was a big thing for me. I think that was the moment that I was in a more of a professional environment. When you go from, say, a club side where you're going down a local park and you're kicking the ball with your mates, to when you actually get identified and people are saying, hey, listen, get into this system now. Now you need to understand the process, because it's not just about rocking up and eating a Vegemite sandwich and going out and training. It's about, all right, you need to hydrate, you need to eat the right things, and that's when this is a lifestyle thing now. This is not just I'm going out and kick the ball with my mates. I've got to commit myself wholeheartedly to this process if I want to give myself the best opportunity.
It's the start of a moulding situation. So they already get you mentally ready, and then all of a sudden, if your body lets you take it to the next level, it's all about your body, what your body can do. Because the mind always wants to do whatever, but it's your body. If your body allows you to get to the next level and excel.
Seva, the craziest thing now is that when I'm now 30 and I'm at the other end, mate. And you would have been the same. Your mind's still there.
I was your age when we met.
Yeah, you were 30.
I was 30,
Yeah.
That's weird.
Crazy, man.
So we'll stay on that track. Did you debut at Olympic before you made the youth team on Gold? Like, were you playing for Olympic in the junior level as well?
So
20s and stuff?
So I played a few games for Olympic when I was 14, 15, played for Brisbane City, and then pretty much moved straight into the QAS system. Got identified pretty early that I was going to be in that pre kind of Brisbane Raw kind of setup.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to, Matty. At the end of the day, football's a game of opinions, and you just got to have a couple of coaches that really back you. And I was just very fortunate that I had, in my career, honestly, we could go through it, but I've probably had 4 coaches out of 100,000 that have actually backed me and gave me an opportunity. And if it wasn't for those 4, I wouldn't be sitting here and I wouldn't have met Seva. And that's the crazy thing about the whole process and the whole life of a footballer.
Yeah. But it's a good, mate. It's a good insight, right? That there could be 100 footballers like you that probably weren't backed, right, and just gave up. And this is sort of what we're talking about, and we're talking about it with certain people. There could be people that weren't backed, right, and sitting in their lounge room now going, I could have been, like I could have been that.
Not to their fault.
No, not to their detriment.
It's just the system and the way it is.
Yeah. You know? So, what age were you when you debuted for the Gold Coast? Had you played under 20s for Australia?
School. So I was 2 years youth team at Gold Coast, and I was training down at TSS, and Miron Bleiberg gave me a tap on the shoulder and said, we've had an injury at number 6, and what are your thoughts? I was a centre half, and he said, what are your thoughts on playing number 6? And I was just so nervous. I probably started sweating the minute he started talking to me, and then from that time on, I knew I was getting a game at which is probably one of the most intimidating parks. Don't you reckon, Seva? Hindmarsh Stadium. The crowd's on top. It's an intimidating venue.
It's a proper football park.
It is proper football park. Yeah. So I got dragged after 65 minutes. Probably should have got sent off. I dragged down Lex on halfway, Lecky on halfway. And but Seva, it just goes like that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
your debut, it's crazy.
It's fast. Everything's 100 mile an hour, And then after about maybe 5 to 10 games, you start slowing down. You start, you know what I mean? Everything just seems normal speed after a while.
So true.
All right. So you also made the Australian under 20s and 23s. Yeah, that must have been a big achievement for you.
Yeah. Well, this is a crazy thing, Matty. The 23s kind of shaped my career because. I was at Gold Coast, and we kind of knew that year, as much as we were trying to enjoy it, we knew that was all over. And you got that Gold Coast team that Seva and I were involved in had so many talented boys. And I think that, Seva's obviously explained his story about, wanting to start a family after Gold Coast and having a few offers to go to Newcastle, and, he wanted to go in a different direction. But I'm 20 years old, and I'm on the Gold Coast with another 10 A-League teams. So if you go 10 times, 24 players in a squad, 240 professional players, there's not many chances. And then in every team, you've got 2 centre-backs or 4 centre-backs, So I'm there, Gold Coast United, and it honestly, guys, it just fell into place for me because Mike Mulvey took over. He gave me an opportunity to play, just like he gave Seva an opportunity to play. I played a couple of games at the back end and ended up getting selected for the Australian under-23s.
Right.
And then I went down and played in that game and we kept the clean sheet against Iraq. And Graham Arnold was sitting in the grandstand watching me play. So after that game, I get a tap on the shoulder from Vidmar, and he says, Arnie wants to speak to you. And that's just the crazy thing, again, about football and about sport and about life. You know, you've just got to put yourself in the position to give yourself that opportunity to perform. And then when you get that opportunity, just take it.
Perform.
And I was just very fortunate that I got that chance to play, and I gave it everything I got. And that's where the story continues.
And so we'll pick that back up in a sec, right? So hold it there. So we spoke with Thwaitie about Gold Coast United too, and Zach's talking about basically the end of Gold Coast United there. It really seems like that was a good bunch of lads at Gold Coast United that could have probably done some stuff if they were backed and the club survived, yeah? Is that what?
100%. I was listening to MG speak the other night. I was listening to the podcast, and this is one of the things that I recognise about Gold Coast. And this is the shift now with professional sport and in organisations is just going back to that culture, right? Yep. We had this culture where we just had a bunch of boys where we're kind of misfits in a way, Seva.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of like guys picked from different areas and different spots, but we all wanted an opportunity, and we just kind of came together and just clicked. Yeah. And I listened to MG speak the other night about going away on camps and, 5 nights out of 10 being on the piss and having a drink and having a laugh. But there's something in that, boys.
100%, mate. I don't disagree with that at all, mate. If it's done right, like I'm just coaching a local park team, right? But it's so much better if I can get the boys out for a drink all together. Oh, mate. Everyone knows what everyone's like, right? And they get along straight away. Yeah, you can over a beer.
This when I came to Olympic in January, This team that I've just signed for, this NPL team, bunch of fantastic young 22, 23-year-old boys, technically incredible, been in 3 grand finals, lost the last 3 years, and I came into this environment and I straight away saw that these guys just needed to come together. There was this thing, and it comes back to my days with Seva at Gold Coast and my days at Mariners winning the championship. And every successful team I've been involved in has this camaraderie and mateship and brotherhood.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And it's not about the boys, about how good they are. It's just that they have this ability to come together.
And they go into battle for each other each week. They go into battle. So is that what it was like on the Goldie? I know, and we'll pick back up on that last bit with Arnie, right? But like I hear you talk about it. We spoke about it with Thwaitie that everyone got along. It was the people upstairs, and like Zack was living with you at the time, mate. So obviously, you and him definitely get along. But
I had the time of my life up there. It's the Gold Coast. Take football away. There's no better places in the entire world to live than the Gold Coast. When you're living there, when you go on holidays 1 week, whatever.
Yeah, mate, you're getting paid to play football and live on the Gold Coast, yeah? I don't think there's much better going on in Australia.
Then you get paid. And then all of a sudden, what I wanted to tap on as well, like you got foreigners coming in. Like it was pretty much, I think they had a massive clean out, Smelts and all that went. And then so it was like maybe 18, 20 players all together at once. Yep. And we're all there for the common thing. We're all living away from home and whatever. But then it just gelled, eh? Like we went away to Clive Palmer's resort. Remember the dinosaur?
Hey,
the golf buggy, Seva.
The golf buggy. And the 3 o'clock in the morning recovery session after the game. Oh, Jesus, eh?
What about Clive's little private resort on the Gold Coast? He's got his private pools. He got on the buggy, go play some golf, go fly some T-Rexes.
Really?
These experiences are unbelievable. Seriously,
we could write a book on on that 10 months. Every day was like, shit. What the fuck's going to happen? What do we walk? It was true, eh? Like
it was crazy. And honestly, you know what it started? It started the first year. I'm on private jets, so I'm with the Shane Smelts, the Chilenas, and I'm with these guys, and I'm a youth player going away to Perth
on private jets.
End of the season on private jets. Yeah. By the end of 3 years, I'm on a golf cart with Seva going around T-Rexes for golf balls.
Hey, what about his first speech when he had all the cameras? There was 30 camera crew. And he's like, this team's going to go through undefeated and money. And we're just standing there like in the actual press conference ourselves going, fuck, what's this guy saying, man? Like,
I know. But he set the bar high, isn't he?
but we knew what he was doing. He was just building hype. Yeah. He was building hype.
And he was the best. He was the best at that, right? He could build a hype train.
It was awesome.
What an absolute top bloke. But away from it, when you get him aside, is really...
Fantastic.
Yeah, all right. Well,
guy.
and look, it is what it is. But at least he showed you what it could be, right? If it had worked, right, I dare say it probably would have been a good team if he could have made it work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And look, another thing too, like you got owners that have been at certain clubs for a long time. Like if we talk financially, the money was always there. Like it wasn't a problem about that. It was just maybe he had a conflict with a certain owner at the time of the league. But other than that, he was good to us.
I'll ask you this question: was he a football person? So, and
It was a sporting person. He loved sport.
Loves sport.
The story goes that he wanted to buy the Titans, and the Titans at the time didn't want to sell. So he goes, all right, I want to give back to the Gold Coast community. Don't take my word for it, but this is just what people close to him have said. And he said, you know what, I want to give back something else. And he started a football team. And you know what? He started a fantastic club, and he did it right from the beginning. Like he gave us everything. You know, we stayed in the best hotels. You know, we didn't always get the best food because Clive loved Chinese, so there's a few pre-games that I had a few spring rolls before a game.
You're not eating Chinese before a game. Wow. Was there enough toilets in the joint? Pre-game would have been awful.
Yeah, not great for the stomach, but no, he was quality. He looked after the boys, and it was a shame in the end. But I think that Clive is just an entrepreneurial spirit whose vision was just bigger than what it was at the time. And I think that he had too many restraints on him. And for someone of Clive Palmer's kind of charisma, he was too confined at the time.
Well, he had the cash to back up his dreams. That's the truth. If he wanted to, for example, put a T-Rex on the 18th hole, he bloody did it. And then he put a Brontosaurus on the 7th or something.
Exactly.
He worked himself into a point where if he wanted to do something, he just done it.
All right, so Zach, just before we go back to Central Coast, I just want to give the viewers at home a little bit of an insight into Daniel Severino. All right, so Pam's a really wonderful person, as you know, right? She's a genius, right?
She's a legend. There's no one better.
How the hell could you live with him day in, day out? Give us some insights into the real Daniel Severino.
Pam's spag bowl was that good. No, it was Seva and I, I'm a Queensland boy from the beach. When I met Seva, I had bloody blonde locks, and I don't know why Seva and I, how we clicked, but gone over to Seva's place. I think what I needed at the time was I needed a big brother and a mentor, and Pam, being Pam, is the loveliest lady in the world, and pretty much became my mum. And she probably still calls me a son, even though
you still call her Mama Bear.
Yeah, Mama Bear. But no, honestly, mate, we have a laugh about, giving Seva some stick, but there's people in your life you've got to give credit to. And, there's throughout your football journey, you just pray and hope you meet people like Seva. And I was just very fortunate that I got to have a 6 to 12 months with Seva and Pam and enjoy my football and then, lean on, have this relationship and 10 years later to be able to jump on a podcast and have a chat about football and how, Marconi and Gold Coast and, Spag bowl.
Look, he does talk highly of you too, Zach. I was certainly hoping you were going to throw him under the bus heaps more than that. Wow.
No,
are you that good? Are you that good of a person?
I'm quality.
You've told me enough. Right. All right. Let's
get someone who doesn't like me, eh? Go on.
No, I'm trying to find someone who doesn't like you.
Go on.
I'm gonna search deeper. Just wait. All right, let's take it back to that Graham Arnold conversation. Yeah, so under 23s clean sheet against Iraq, right? And no doubt you played a whale of a game. Yeah, you were pretty happy with how you played.
Yeah, no, I was. You know what those camps are like. You get thrown into an environment with new guys. You got 3 days to get it right, and you get out there and you got to perform. And so, I think I was very lucky that I had a few games, for the first grade. And I'd had a bit of experience under my belt and going into that game. The best thing was I didn't understand the enormity of it. I didn't understand what I was really getting myself into, because it was a Olympic qualifier.
Yep.
And I didn't know that Arnie was there. I didn't know that, my career could potentially be on the line. And that was the best thing. I just went out and played and did my job. And that's the beautiful thing of a youth footballer. The most consistent thing is the inconsistency at times. But I think that I went out that game. All I cared about was doing my job for the national team, and we didn't win, but defensively we were strong. And I got the opportunity to speak to Arnie after the game, and he just said that he liked the way that I played. He thought I was raw and that I needed to lose 10 kilos, but that he thought that I had an opportunity to come and do a job for his team. So I ended up flying back home after that. Gold Coast folded and everyone was quite upset. But luckily, out of a squad of, 18, 19, 20 boys, I was one of the boys who got picked up from another A-League club. And thankfully, that was my opportunity to stay as a professional footballer.
And then you see him 1 year, next year, 10 months later, wins the A-League.
Wins the championship. So it's a perfect. It was nearly a perfect storm, right? So you've pretty much debuted for the Olympic team under 23s.
Yep.
Arnie's sitting in the crowd, obviously coach of Central Coast, and then Gold Coast fold, and he gives you a ring, and you go down to Central Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks later, they're in the grand final against Brisbane Roar, and that's the famous game that they lose. They lose on pens, and I'm in the grandstand with Dad, and I'm a Brisbane boy, so half my heart's going Raw through and through.
I'm about to sign here, but
I'm looking at Arnie going,
I shouldn't be cheering.
This is a pretty good team to go to. They just won the grand final, and they lose. And I remember thinking that day, going home with Dad, and just thinking to myself, this is going to be a big year. You go into a team that's lost the grand final. There's always a lot of emotions, a lot of emotional baggage after that. And I remember Arnie calling me probably a week after and just said, sorry, mate, I needed a week before I call you, but we're going to start pre-season a little bit later. The boys need some time. And so it was the worst thing because I was ready to go.
Yeah.
And I had another 4 weeks to kind of sit on my hands and just kind of wait around for the flight to fly down to Sydney and travel up the coast. But from day one I got to the Mariners, it was just a perfect environment for me because I'm someone that loves to be around people.
Yep.
I love culture. I love understanding how to drive other people, and being in that change room around guys who had lost a couple of grand finals, guys who were so hungry to win a grand final. They'd created their own identity, their own culture, and I was just so open to being a part of that. And I think that the best thing for me was just to embrace what they were already doing and just sponge as much as I could. And I had big shoes to fill because Alex Wilkinson had left for Korea. So I was coming in to partner either Trent Sainsbury or Swansvik. And it was just from that day onwards, from the first day, it was just the best experience.
So take us through that year then. So Arnie obviously had been there a while, and they had obviously lost a couple of grand finals lead and lost it really badly that year on pens, right? Talk us through that preseason and then leading into the first few games. Was it intense? Was it an intense environment losing those grand finals?
So the beautiful thing about the Central Coast, as you guys both know, is that it's its own little bubble.
Yeah,
so
correct.
As a team, we all lived. I didn't need to live with, say, Seva or live with any guys because we pretty much lived on top of each other in and around Terrigal.
Okay.
So the beautiful thing about that was journos didn't want to travel up the highway because it was an hour and a half. So you kind of in this little bubble together. So you're always going for dinners, you're always going for breakfasts, and this is where this culture that has been cultivating over the years kind of came from. And so I've got into this environment with a team that had been working over the last 2 or 3 years to win a grand final, just hadn't got there. And I kind of came in at the perfect time because it just needed that little bit of an extra couple of % for it to click.
Yep.
And that year, luckily, it did click because I was a part of it. But I can't speak for when I wasn't there, but when I was there, it was the hardest preseason for one I've ever done. Wow. Andrew Clark, the national team strength and conditioning coach, he's an absolute freak. The guy would say to do, 3 sets of 12 sprints, box to box, and he would do it with you and then do it again. So when he tells you to do it, you do it because he's just done it twice, right? Yeah. So for me, going into that environment, being around people like John Hutchinson, who was probably one of the best captains I've ever played under, Nick Montgomery, 10 years in the championship and in the Premier League player, you pinch yourself to be a part of these kinds of squads. And then you got Swans like, Arnie, who's now the Socceroos coach. And, he'd give me a book and say, Zack, I want you to read this by the end of the week. I want you to write 10 notes on what you learned about it. So it was a proper education. You talk about these kids going into football clubs. It was a proper apprenticeship that I needed to do.
I remember you saying that actually when you signed there, and I asked you what's the biggest differences that you've felt in that, and you said straight away Arnie is different level attention to detail, and then Clarkie his whole backroom stuff. It just went from imagine going like folding Gold Coast United, pretty much fizzling out, to going to that.
So
would have been brilliant.
Are you saying was Central Coast a lot more professional than the Gold Coast?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Gold Coast was a bunch of great guys having a crack with, at the very beginning, every resource you would potentially want.
Yeah.
At the end, we had hardly anything.
Okay.
It was just the boys together doing the best. But by the end of it, Seva, we didn't really have a lot. We had, but we didn't really care because we were professional footballers and we're living on the Gold Coast. We didn't care. We still were happy.
We still had an awesome training ground and
yeah.
But the
one percenters.
Yeah, the 1%ers.
The 1%ers that you need to win a championship, we didn't have, right?
Yep.
Which is what you recognise when you go to a club like Mariners and you have everything that you have no excuses.
100%.
Playing in front of full houses every week, I guess, at home too would have been pretty.
Yeah, that's another.
Would have been pretty exciting.
Come on.
25,000, 26,000, and that's the thing I recognise, and that's probably the transition into the conversation around the state of the game. For me, when you're winning games, people want to come watch you play because football is entertainment. At the end of the day, people don't want to come and watch your team lose every week.
Yeah,
no matter if it's rugby league or soccer or tennis. If you're winning and you're playing a good brand of football, people enjoy coming to watch that.
100%.
I think that what we were winning, and we had a style of play that people enjoyed. So we'd have Sydney FC fans come up the highway and watch us play.
Yeah. All right, take us to grand final day against Western Sydney Wanderers. Obviously a big supporter base. And take us, I guess, pre-game then. You didn't get a start. You weren't starting that game.
No.
And talk me through the dressing room knowing, right, that they'd lost some grand finals. Was there an awe of calm or was it just, how was it inside there?
Day before, we couldn't train on the pitch because it was raining. It was raining for a few days. We couldn't train. We couldn't play. Do the captain's run on the pitch. So we actually trained on the AFL outside. And about 5 minutes before the end of training, John Hutchinson's gone over on his ankle and done his ankle quite badly. And it was this sense through the group. As soon as he went over, everyone's heart dropped because Hutchie be the first person to tell you he's absolute panel beater compared to the majority of midfielders, but he's the first person you pick because he's just a leader.
Yeah.
And so when we knew that he was okay, we had Arnie brought us in for a leadership. We had a couple of team meetings the night before, and he put up on the screen, some messages from some family. And we woke up the next morning, had breakfast, had a bit of a walk and another meeting. And to be honest with you, there was a sense of calm. I think the boys had been through the situation before. They knew what to expect. And on grand final day, it's all about who handles their emotions the best.
Yeah.
That's all it's about. At the end of the day, it's just another game of football. And everyone will say, any sports fan will say, majority of the time, grand finals are the worst game to watch.
Yeah.
So emotional.
Even playing, have you ever played a good grand final? Never.
Because you just got to win, no matter how. You just got to win.
And that's it. At the end of the day, all the tactics go out the window. You obviously plan the best you can, but it's just about how you handle your emotions. And Arnie's a funny one because he talks to us about handling his emotions, but he's the worst at handling his emotions.
So how was it? How was it sitting on the sideline, but mate? Like I'm coaching now, and I can't even handle standing on the sideline, knowing you just can't affect the match, right? And you're on the sideline. We had a TV camera crew follow us around the whole year, called Onion TV. It's on YouTube. And these guys followed us from day one of preseason to the grand final win. And you'll see some footage on that of the bench. And the beautiful thing about that footage is it showed how connected we were as a team, because you saw the emotion of how happy the bench was at any point in time. You look at it, you don't win a grand final with 11 players on the pitch. 100%.
So when you see the bench and you see the boys in the grandstand, just so connected to that game and wanting that team to win so badly, and then the whistle going and seeing everyone just, so elated for each other. It's craziest feeling.
I remember, Zachy, you were just about to go on. You were warmed up. You had your
mate. I'd warmed up for 30 minutes.
I know. I was excited. And then remember that I think it was Clarkey or someone, you were literally at the halfway line, ready to go on the next time the ball went out, and then the whistle went, and you were like, I think you just hugged. I don't know.
I just hugged Arnie. Yeah,
it was Arnie. That's right. It was Arnie. Yeah.
All right. I know you can't take us right into the dressing room and then and the few days after, but give us what you can. Celebrations after that. That's a big win for those lads that have been together for a while, right?
Mate, I'll tell you what. The crazy thing was we were in the Asian Champions League, so we actually had to play in Korea 48 hours after that grand final win.
Oh,
so
wow.
we've finished. Yeah, so we've finished. We've gone back to the hotel, and Arnie's literally just going, boys, I know we've got a game in 40 hours. Just make sure you're on the plane tomorrow morning to Korea. So we've all gone to King's Cross. It's 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. It's kebabs in your mouth. You're making sure you're home. You've chucked on your ACL polo. You're on the plane. You're sleeping all the way to Seoul.
Yeah.
But the celebrations really started after we got back from Korea, and Terrigal will never be the same.
Sirens? Are we going to sirens?
Sirens. The sticky
Florence siren.
Stickier.
I think I've still got a pair of shoes there. I think I lost my shoes there. We won't. We'll stop there, right? We won't go there. All right. So you also played at Sydney FC as well. Obviously, a massive club in this country.
Yep.
Talk us through that environment. You've gone from Gold Coast, Central Coast, and then down to a massive club.
Yeah. So the transition to Sydney wasn't planned. So 3 years at Mariners, just close to 100 A-League games, and I was ready for my move overseas. I was 23 years old. I was ready to go. Agents at the time telling me that they were going to get me moves, just like every agent does, and it didn't happen. And I go into June, July, sitting on my phone, like looking for a reception on my phone, and not getting any messages. So I get a call from Arnie, and he's at Sydney FC now. And he says, Zack, what are you doing? And I said, Arnie, it hasn't come off like it's planned to come off. Mariners have given me a big offer to stay, but I just knew I needed to change. I have so much respect for guys who spend 10 years at clubs, like Hutchie, like Archie Thompson. But for me, I wanted just to experience different things, like Seva did, like other players did. I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to experience football overseas. So I didn't get that opportunity that year. Arnie called me and said, come to Sydney FC. And I said to him, I'll sign for 1 year. I signed for 1 year, went to Sydney FC. And they were pretty much at the very beginning of a cycle. Arnie was getting rid of boys. Arnie was bringing in boys. He was pretty much starting the culture that he'd been working on at the Mariners in Sydney. And it was a tough year because we didn't do well. And after that year, Arnie, the crazy thing was Arnie came to me and goes, Zack, I'm not going to offer you another deal. And I can remember having that meeting with Phil Moss, Corica, Arnie, Crawley, and I started crying because I'd gone from Mariners 3 years to Sydney FC 1 year, and I just thought to myself, here I am at 24, I can't get overseas, Sydney FC are going to release me. And I remember getting in the car, seeing Matty Simon at the time, and he's like, mate, it's okay, this happens to every footballer. So I remember flying home from Sydney to Brisbane and getting a call from an agent who had seen me play an ACL game and said there's an opportunity to go to Dubai. And I spoke to a few people, and I just said to myself, it's time to go. The European dream hasn't come off for me for whatever reason, and it's time to go overseas and give it a crack in the Middle East. So that was a big turning point.
So you went over to the UAE after that year, is that right? The Emirates club?
Yeah. Yep. Left Sydney FC, flew to Dubai by myself, 24 years old.
Wow.
Very, very, you play football, from your 6 years old, and you think you're experienced at 24, you think you've seen the world, and then you move to Dubai by yourself, and then you really see a different world.
How was it, Zac? Was it a good experience?
Mate, unbelievable experience. Unbelievable. Rocking up the first day, seeing 18-year-olds with Ferraris was shocking. Was crazy.
Really?
I've never seen sheikhs call me at 2 a.m. saying, you've got to come meet my son's brother's, daughter because, they want to meet the latest foreign signing. And then I recognized Seva and Matty, what it felt like to be a foreigner. The pressure that comes on you as a foreigner.
When they come
24 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 24 years old, and all of a sudden, I've got to score, keep clean sheets, go and see the sheikh's daughter, everything.
They see you as a massive star over there.
And we actually were talking about that the other day, right? So when a foreigner comes here, right? It's nearly like they're here for a retirement fund at times, right? We don't have that pressure. Okay, Del Piero, Shinji Ono, the Thomas Broich, those sort of things succeeded, but they don't seem like you're talking now the pressure of a foreigner when Australian goes overseas, right?
No,
Do you agree?
I got sacked. So I did a full preseason. The coach got sacked second game. The coach was the one who brought me in. After the second game, the coach got sacked. The third game, I got a tap on the shoulder saying there's going to be another centre back coming to training tomorrow night. And then after that training session, my agent came to me and said, "You're gone." So I'd moved my whole life from Dubai in June. I've done a Dubai summer training at 10 o'clock at night. And then in August, I think it was, or August, September, the coach had gone. So I was gone. And I was already negotiating a payout. And here I am, 24 years old, 2 suitcases off, said goodbye to my friends and family.
That's a world of football.
And then I've spent 3 months in a hotel room training by myself because they refused to pay me. So I've said to them, well, I'm not going to leave until you pay me. I couldn't go anywhere because there's no transfer window. So I've stayed in Dubai by myself and I was lucky because I'd met a few very good people that I'd stayed in Dubai from August to January. And it was, I wanted to get home for Christmas. But they wouldn't release me because they knew it was Christmas and they knew I'd be happy, right, to go home for Christmas.
Wow.
So they waited for Christmas to close, and then on the 26th or 27th, they gave me the release papers to come home.
Wow.
Yeah.
They just don't care over there, eh? They don't care. It's ruthless.
They're ruthless.
I had I was in China, a team called Dalian. I think it was 2009 or 2010. I went over there from Europe. I went on trial. No, I played straight away. $1 million US, ready to go. I remember Ian. You remember Ian Fife?
Yeah,
Sydney FC player. The only reason why I went there from Europe was because my agent at the time took Fife there. Fife was about to sign or something like that. Anyway, I went there because another Aussie there. I'll go there. They offered me $1 million US. They go, no worries. This was in Seoul in Korea. They go, look, we'll fly back into China and we'll sign the deal there. 4 days later. So I'm telling them, I'm on the phone to my parents.
Game over.
$1 million US. No worries. I'll take it all tax free. 4 days later, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember a player that knocked out Italy in the World Cup 2002? Ari Hahn.
Yeah.
He comes in, he walks in, and then they go, your deal's gone. What do you mean? We're signing him. Like, if he didn't walk in that day or the agent didn't, it just near misses, you're talking $1 million US there. It's like $1.8 million. All tax free. That's a crazy world, eh? You know what I mean?
No, Seva, I'll tell you one more quick story.
Yeah.
I actually flew to Dubai to sign for another club. Now it's called Calibre. So I've flown from Sydney. I've got a flight and a contract for $350,000 US for Calibre. So I've flown over. I've got a hotel room. My agent's taking me to the club. I've got the suit on. I've got the hair gel back. I'm ready to take my photo with the jersey. I get to sit down with my agent. The contract is completely different. Completely different. And I've said to them, I said, well, what's going on here? You got a clause in the contract saying if you think that I'm not fit enough, you can get rid of me for nothing. There's a clause here to say that if I get injured, you can kick me out for nothing. I'm just moved from Sydney. You got to give me some security. No. If we don't think you're good enough, you're gone. I said, I'm not signing this. So I've gone back to the hotel room. The next day, I've called the agent and said, I'm not going to sign this. Oh, the club down the road, Emirates wants to sign you. All right. So next day I get in the car.
Stop it.
I get in a bloody limousine. I drive down the road, sign for Emirates FC. Sign.
Wow. And that's the ugly side of, you try and tell kids that, that's the ugly side. When it's all pretty here. We're spoiled here. The moment you fly out of here, it's a different world, eh? Completely different world because it's just
you got to have good people around you.
Yeah,
you got to have good people around you.
You got to meet them. All right, so you get your release from Emirates, in just as the January transfer window opens up, I take it?
Yep, exactly.
Into Malaysia or home first?
Yep, Malaysia. So I, at this point, I've just spent 6 months sitting on my bum. I've played 2 games. And I'm, to be honest, I don't back myself. I've lost all my confidence. And I didn't know what to do. I know A-League club's going to take a guy that's gone over to Dubai and failed. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going back to play NPL. I'm 24 years old. I'm just devastated because I'd worked so hard to get to a point to go overseas. So I come back to Australia, and I remember because it was my mum and dad's wedding anniversary, and I was sitting with them at dinner, and I get a call from Shane Smelts, and Smelty says to me, "There's a club in Malaysia. It's in the jungle. But I'm telling you right now, you go there, you play well, this club will look after you. And they've got a massive supporter base, and I think that you can do a job there. And I remember saying to Smelty, I go on Google Maps, I can't even find this club. Like, where is this place, And he's like, mate, listen, trust me, you'll do a job there.
He'd know a good club if he saw one.
Smelty's seen some clubs.
Yeah.
And so I literally, the season was starting in 10 days. So luckily there was no COVID. I didn't have to do any quarantine. I just literally packed my bags that was already packed from Dubai. The same 2 suitcases.
Wow.
And then I got on a plane by myself, flew to Kuala Lumpur, got another plane from Kuala Lumpur into Al Star. Don't ask me where. And I got taken to a hotel room, and I kicked off against Johor, which is the top team in Malaysia, 7 days later.
Wow.
And
massive team, eh?
I can honestly say, guys, that was the make or break for me, because I knew that if I didn't perform, my football career was over. And thankfully, we went 10 games unbeaten. We ended up winning the Malaysian Cup, and it was probably the best year of my footballing life.
Really?
So run us through that name again. Kedar, was it?
Yeah, Kedar, yeah.
Wow. So
sorry, buddy. Was there who's the other Aussie player there at the time? Was there not?
There was a few boys that had gone. Billy Mehmet had gone there.
Yeah. Brendan Gann.
Brendan Gann's still there. Ganny's still there. He's in Malaysia. He's a Malaysian king.
He's an international, isn't he?
He's an international. No, Ganny's. I played with him in Perak on my third year in Malaysia.
Perak.
But Ganny's he's nearly been there 10 years now.
Yeah.
All right, so talk us so you've flown in, play Kedar. So you've gone from 18-year-olds driving Ferraris to basically the jungle. Did it take you long?
Guys on scooters.
Guys on scooters,
Matty.
Imagine you on a scooter.
I'm looking at my contract. I'm going, is this scooters? Like looking through it,
You're 9'10" on a scooter.
Yeah. So you tell us talk me through, I guess, the reasons why it was the best year. Was it your environment? Like, was it you controlling your own destiny there? Is that why?
The thing that what I did well was I recognised what it meant to be a foreigner. And when I went to Dubai, I was still bubble wrapped. Like I approached Dubai like I was an Australian. So I didn't approach it as a foreigner. And when you go overseas and you're in an environment like you are in Dubai or Malaysia or Singapore, where I've just left, you've got to be this superhero. You've got to create a new character for yourself. And I decided that when the coach would come to me and say, "Oh, Zack, we're going to play on the left side of centre half today," I'm going to say, "No. I'm playing on the right," because I know that I'm stronger on the right and I'm going to perform better on the right. And at the end of the game, it doesn't matter if you've been on the left and you've done it for the team. If you didn't perform,
you're out.
Then you're gone
anyway.
next week. Yeah. So I went into real selfish mode. I went into sink or swim, survival of the fittest kind of mode. And the best thing about that was, for 6 months, it sounds selfish, but all I cared about was myself, because I knew that was just do or die.
You probably gained a lot of respect out of that.
Mate, I went into that season with Kedar, and all I cared about was my own performance. I was worried about myself. And, obviously, being me, I still cared about making sure that everyone else was, happy. And that was just my personality.
Yeah.
I just took the foreigner approach, you know what I mean? And, the best thing about it was I did it in front of, like I said before, there was nothing in this place. So we would have 35, 40,000 every week. It took me, I'd have to go to a game 3 hours before, because from the car park to the changing room door, it would take me 45 minutes to walk there because of the amount of people wanting a photo. So for me, that was football. Like you talk about Europe, like where I wanted to be, like where I wanted to play, I just wasn't good enough. Like I felt like I was a footballer for the first time in my career. Because
really? You felt wanted.
If you lost a game, you couldn't go to the shopping mall the next day.
Wow.
Like, it was an incredible experience.
So was that the same at Perak FC too? Was that the same? Is it the
Pretty
country
similar.
That's like a football diehard country?
Yeah, they're football obsessed, but just especially where I was, because I was an hour and a half, 2 hour flight from KL. I was literally in the jungle. There was nothing else.
Wow.
So all they had was football. So like when I played for PKNS in Kuala Lumpur, you're in Kuala Lumpur, so you still got nightclubs but where I was living was very religious. You couldn't go. There was no pubs. You couldn't go get a beer. There was a shopping mall. There was a hotel room. There was a football stadium. So on a Saturday night from 5 o'clock till our kickoff was 9 p.m. till midnight. There was fireworks. That was just
how good.
Crazy.
Wow, mate! Look, that's a wonderful insight, right? So we've gone from like people playing in Europe, talking about that, to then playing in Southeast Asia. Like football's everywhere, yeah. And like 35,000, just 3 hours before a game having a go. Like, how good?
Oh, it's a religion, eh?
Oh,
it becomes
mate.
a religion. You don't need to go to Europe anymore to get that buzz.
No,
you don't. You just go Southeast Asia. Because they're football mad. Like the Thai league is just crazy, you know. Like,
and look, you say you're not good enough for Europe, but obviously there was a reason why you went to Malaysia, right? You've just said there you're a footballer for the first time, yeah. So would you have found that? Like, you may not have found that in Europe as well, right?
I think, Matty, like, again, it just comes down to opportunity. I'm not saying I wasn't good enough to go to Europe, but I didn't have a coach at the time that saw me and backed me in Europe, right? But the thing about Asia is that it just suited my game because I'm 6'4". I know it was a little bit slower. Europe was just too quick for me. And at the end of the day, I have a great footballing brain. Technically, I'm good enough to be, playing in most leagues in Europe, but I wasn't powerful enough. I wasn't fast enough. And I think that you've got to be, at some point, you've got to be self-aware to recognize that. Yeah. And I was just fortunate that I had people around me who said, Zac, don't turn your nose at Asia. Don't turn your nose at going and having an experience, because a lot of players don't get these experiences. And now the crazy thing is, I've got guys who are in Europe saying, Zac, can you help me get into Malaysia?
Yeah, because, wow.
They're in leagues that it's freezing cold. They might be sitting on the bench in like second division, and they're saying, Zac, can you get me to Malaysia in the warm weather where I can play in front of 35,000 and still make good money? I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. It's completely changed.
I think the idea of to go to Europe now these days, it's not the number one destination for a young player anymore.
And it's so far away in comparison, right?
Yeah.
Like Europe's
no, it's different. If you're going to, if you're Matty Ryan, if you're playing Premier League, you're playing Serie A, you're playing La Liga, of course.
100%, yeah.
But if you got to go there and graft a bit,
I have so much respect. Like, honestly, like you said, if you're 23, you get the opportunity to go to Denmark, I would have taken it. I would have eaten your hand for it, right? But all I'm saying to you now is that after spending 5 years in Asia, there's nothing. It had the most amazing football experience. So there's different pathways, there's different opportunities for every footballer. There's guys who don't make Europe. Doesn't mean your football career is over. There's guys in NPL who can't get a crack at A-League. Like I said before, 240, 260 players, professional in Australia. Like, it's okay. Keep grafting, because there might be an opportunity for you to go to Hong Kong. There might be an opportunity for you to get, and all you got to do is play one good season. I remember this, you say this to me all the time, Zachy, just play one good game, mate, in Asian Champions League. You only need one coach to see you play.
That's all you need. A good mate of mine, he's played at Tottenham and Inter Milan and that. He said to me, I remember I was only 17 when I first went overseas. I remember in the gym, he was a big boy. He looks like Brad Pitt, Tramazzani. I think I told you, you actually look like him in a way. Like, he said to me, he goes, remember in football, at 9 o'clock, you can be on top of the world, but by 3 p.m., or the other way around, sorry, he goes, at 9 a.m., you could feel like a piece of shit, but at 3 p.m., you can be on top of the world. That's how fast football changes. And it's so true. Sliding doors.
So you go from Malaysia, and then we finish, I guess, your overseas career in Singapore. Is that right? Finish in Singapore?
Yeah. So the thing was, I recognise, I have all these experiences that at some point I was going to get the tap on the shoulder and the football was going to be all over. And I think that for me, coming, from, parents who were both teachers, and my parents pushed education on me. I was always studying, and I always just saw a bigger picture for myself. And I got to the point where the uncontrollables were too much. And I am a bit of a control freak, and I do love working towards something. And football, there was too many times that things got taken out of my own hands when I just had no control. And so the move to Singapore was more of a business decision, because I set up a company in Singapore, and I set up a VC there with my business partner Kaz Batafta, for me, I still have the drive to play football, and I still know that I'm still passionate about the game. But I just started to recognize that there was more to life, and I wanted to build something, create something, and have control over something. And I think that was the one thing that I recognized in the end, that I took my football ability as far as I could, but I was never going to be a self-made millionaire from football, and I needed to eventually give it up, and I needed to eventually support my family. Yep. So I think I made that decision quite young. I made that decision, at the start of last year, COVID year, to move to Singapore, to set up my business, to play some football. And by the end of last year, my girlfriend Tess, she had to come back to Australia, and that COVID year, I think just in the end just got too much, and I just thought, you know what, it's time to come home. So that's where the journey finished.
So you've still got business interests, I take it, in Singapore, yeah? You've still, you still...
No, I still got the company in Singapore. It's incorporated and domiciled there. So Kaz and I drive a football financing company in Singapore. So we've got a number of Asian investors who want exposure in their own portfolios to football clubs. So we've been helping them look at different ways they can finance football, if that's a minority or a majority in a football club, or if that's some sort of receivables financing. Kaz and I have been working on that for 12 months and continue to work on it. But it was just an opportunity while I was over there. I met some great people along the way, networking, and Singapore was a hub, especially with all the dramas that were happening in Hong Kong. A lot of money flowing into Singapore. So for me, last year, as much as it was a tough football year, it was a great year to kind of expand my horizons and just kind of network and meet great people. Brilliant.
And now you're back where it all started, yeah?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm full circle. It was crazy. I came back in December, did my 14 days in a hotel, and there's nothing like...
were you on your own there, or was it you and your girlfriend?
On my own in hotel quarantine. There's nothing like sitting in a room, unemployed, I haven't seen your girlfriend in 10 months, and life kind of hits you, So after speaking with Tess and the family, it was the right time to come home and to transition into the next chapter, just like Seva did at the same age. So.
It's that same age. It's that 30-year-old mark where you go, because I could have went to Newcastle the Jets. I'm like, nah, I want a bit of control of my life. And it's exactly like,
crazy.
It is. You get to a point where you go, enough's enough. You know when it's enough. When you don't want to scratch anymore, and to just try and get over there where some bastard's just going to take it away from you. That's where you say, like, you'd rather work towards something where you can actually it's an achievable, rather than I'm going to be a 6-year-old and go on my whole life and hopefully hope. The hope burns out.
But also, there's so many examples of guys who have hung on it, and I'd seen it through my career, and I'd made a conscious decision quite young that I just didn't want to be that guy that was just hanging on for dear life. I wanted more for myself, and I wanted to be a little bit more in control. And I just seen guys who had done it really well, and examples of guys who just hadn't done it very well. So I don't know. I think I looked up at you, Seva, and saw the way you transitioned as well, mate. So it's exciting, because now I'm back in a different capacity. I'm working full time. I'm studying full time. I'm playing NPL, and it's a different challenge. But
are you happy? You look happy,
man. So happy. No, honestly, like I think I feel fulfilled. The thing about footballers is that a lot of footballers don't get that fulfillment. Yeah. They feel like they either missed something, or they didn't get an opportunity, or something didn't quite click. Where in my heart, I know that the 10 years that I played, I gave everything. As a professional, I was the best I could potentially be. I got the most out of my body. And in the end, like, now you've got to be a man enough and take the ego away and just recognize that, like Thorady said the other day, no one, he's come out and just recently retired, and one of the best players they ever played in the A-League and the Cap Socceroo, but life goes on,
I remember his words were...
Mate, he said it perfectly.
He goes, no one gives a shit. That's exactly what he said.
He literally said you can be on the front page of the paper, and then the next day everyone forgets about you. It. And but Thwaitie was, and they did a big spread on him, right? Up your way. They did a big write-up on him, and then, unfortunately, that's what happens,
And did you listen to that one, Zachy, when he touched on mental health and that? I had no idea. Like, even as close mates to him as we both are, I had no idea that had happened. over there in China, and he was struggling, transitioning and all that stuff. So even now,
I think Seva, it happens. Like at the end of the day, like you said, you put on this character, right? You put on this face that you got to be tough, and everyone's done it. Like I'm telling you,
everyone's done it.
We share these stories openly and candidly now about our struggles. Like I tell about the amazing experiences of being on a yacht in Abu Dhabi, going to the F1. But then I can tell you about the stories of me crying in the car, training because I've just been tapped on the shoulder of my dreams, in the gutter.
And you've said that, right? Yeah. It's the highs and lows of football are, you could be as you said, winning a grand final, and the next year tapped on the shoulder, and it's game over, right? You don't know where you're going.
It's so cruel, and the amount of calls, like for example, when you said you were sitting on your hands waiting for calls, like the amount of calls and messages. Oh, this club, that club. You've been linked to 50, 60 clubs. Like come on, like it's not easy to sit there, and have agents say, look, I'm getting a call at 3 o'clock. I'll call you at 3:30. Sorry, at 7 p.m. No one's called. It's disheartening, It's so disheartening.
There's no integrity. And like Thready spoke about, when it comes down to your values and what you want for your family, like it's okay when you're by yourself, but then when you bring a partner into it or you bring family into it, it just changes the game. Yeah, you don't just look. You could sit there on your own and just worry about yourself, but when you're worrying about like other people, and like for example, myself starting a family, like I think I hear wedding bells between you and Tess. No pressure. You start a family soon. What do you reckon? Definitely 100%.
Yeah, good.
I have to now.
Yeah, you have to now. You've retired. You got nothing else better to do. You're in 3 day lockdown. You're in lockdown, mate.
I guarantee 9 months from now we'll come back to this podcast and there'll be a COVID baby in the Anderson household.
Yeah. Little Andy.
Look, mate, you seem like you've settled really well into, I guess, transitioning from that pro athlete into semi-pro. Just before we leave, take us into that Olympic dressing room. Is it a different? Is it different to an A-League dressing room, or is it pretty similar, knowing that these young kids are probably fighting for an A-League contract?
I reckon it's better, Zachy?
Mate, as much as they need me, I need them, and this is some of the thing that I spoke about the other night. It's about creating a moment. So one of the things I spoke about when I first came to the club, and this is the hardest thing when you come into any change room. The change room is just like a business. It's just like a classroom. You have a teacher, you have students, you have bullies, you have guys who have more control or less control, but everyone has to find their level, their spot,
where they sit.
And so when I come into this change room, I recognized very early that we had a few guys that were very, very good. We had a few guys who were influencers. We had a few guys who like to follow. And I took my time. I took a couple of weeks to recognize it. And then I quickly said to myself, like, my role in this team is bigger than just coming in and being a centre back. It's really about bringing together this squad. And the first thing I did was organise a team night out.
Oh, stop it.
I organised the dinner and a team night out because I'm just a bit old school.
We might have to re-interview Zack up in Brisbane, eh?
Yeah,
I'll have to do part B with Zack on the road.
Yeah. I think so. We're going to take this, organise a dinner. We'll be up there in 3 weeks.
3 days once this is over. Yeah, so finish off, sorry.
No, but it was the process of the Olympic is one that they've lost the last 3 grand finals, and it's with us. It's about really building that culture, really building that brotherhood. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to have a good year because we've got a good bunch of boys who are all heading in the right direction. And it's not coming down to technical ability. It's going to come down to that brotherhood and how much we really want to go and play for each other. And I've really drawn strength of my experiences with the days in Mariners and Sydney FC and Gold Coast. And I've lent on guys like Seva and Hutchie and these guys who have been mentors and leaders in different change rooms. And I've taken all different pieces. And for once in my life, I'm the oldest. There's myself. There's Isaka Cernak. There's another guy who's 30. So we have a really young change room. But the beautiful thing about having a young change room is that as long as their heart's in the right place, they can be molded, and as long as their values are aligned, then the stars are the limit. So we're on the right track. It's a really exciting project, and we've got a long year ahead. We're only 4 games in, but it's for the last couple of years I've really missed that change room. Asia doesn't really give you that change room. You're a foreigner, you're by yourself.
You're in the jungle, mate. It's not gonna.
But we win the other night in Mackay, and the major sponsor comes in with a few cans, and
stop it.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm back.
Well, Zac, look, mate, we can't thank you enough for tonight. You've given us a wonderful insight into football from a young age through Asia, and those struggles, I guess, through Dubai. So, look, from me, I can't thank you enough for opening up. And I know you and Seva are really good mates as well. So I know that you did tell me he'd be very good. And, mate, I can't thank you enough, pal.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zachy.
Guys, I appreciate it. And you guys are doing an amazing job with your podcast. It's quality.
Thanks, mate. Well, we've got to finish off with our last little thing, so Zac, stay there. We can't thank our wonderful sponsors, mate, who you can see behind us. Visit letsbemates.com.au for any of your NBN needs or mobile needs. They'll look after you. MG Activ, who's still keeping Seva in shape. Look at him, Zac. How good's he looking?
He's struggling.
You'll like this one too. DS Tipping and Excavations for all your excavation needs, and still the best lay in Penrith. So if you need turf or anything else, call the best lay in Penrith, Daniel Severino. The Planning Station, Maeve. If you need any events organised or planned, go to the Instagram or Facebook and find Maeve. She does a wonderful job.
The Planning Station.
The Planning Station. And Rusty Penny Brewing, who are keeping us hydrated on the podcast.
Looks like Zachy, yeah.
It does look a bit like Zac. That's the old Gold Coast days. Look at that, huh? So we can't thank them guys enough. We're going to pop down and grab some more beer. We're nearly out, boys. So stock the fridge for us. And our new sponsor, Ignify Legal. Jump on their Instagram page. We'll throw them out. And our last one, our last but not least, our superstar who keeps this podcast going, Jeff Lambert. Visit jefflambert.com.au and go and check out his new video today. It literally shows you everything that he's going to be doing in the future, and we can't wait to be a part of it. So, Jeff, thank you again, pal.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
And Zac, look, mate, we can't wait. Once these borders start opening up, we'll come up for a beer and watch you kick a ball around up at Olympic, man.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah, come up to the Greeks. We'll give you a halloumi wrap and a couple of metals.
Oh, stop it, mate. You better win. I want those free beers in the change room too, eh? I'm going to sing this song.
Thanks, Zachy.
Zachy, thanks, pal. Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.